Good evening, my cybersecurity and cryptocurrency folks. Today is December the 7th of 2018. It's a Friday, and this is episode 51 of the Cybersecurity and Cryptocurrency podcast. Today, we're going to discuss some more shortcomings with Office 365 that I've been experiencing. Also in cybersecurity, going to talk about Huawei and what's going on with their CFO. Also going to touch a little bit on DuckDuckGo and what they're doing. And last but not least, going to talk about some European banks and what's going on with them. On the cryptocurrency side of things, obviously we're going to talk about the massive Bitcoin drops that have been happening. Also going to talk about Constantinople, which is the new Ethereum fork coming up. And also going to touch a little bit on the trends of Bitcoin when it does take these kinds of huge dumps, essentially. We'll also touch a little bit on Coinbase and some announcements that they've made recently as well. So I guess we'll start with cybersecurity. And I've been griping about it for a while now, but the more I deal with Office 365, the less I like it. Primary issue is because of the onmicrosoft.com domain that they require everybody to have when you sign up for Office 365. You do not have a choice. You have to have, it's typically your domain, so let's say your domain is Contoso, so it's contoso.com, and then you'd also have contoso.onmicrosoft.com. And everybody has to have that. No getting around it. Microsoft won't turn it off. End of story. Right? Very, very annoying, because guess what? Who owns the onmicrosoft.com domain? I sure as hell don't. So what does that mean? That means that Microsoft does. So why does that matter? Well, if you think about MX records for onmicrosoft.com, I don't own those MX records, and therefore I can't change them. And Microsoft has also said that they're not going to change them for me either. So what does that do? Well, currently we have our MX records going to a spam filter first, which they should to get filtered. However, the unfortunate thing is if somebody emails one of those onmicrosoft.com addresses, it goes right past and just delivers it straight to the user's inbox. Goes right around our spam filter, basically renders it completely useless. So what we have done is we've created 3 separate mail transport rules in Office 365, and we had to create 3 because there's a bunch of different things that you have to do to detect and block these onmicrosoft.com addresses. It's very much a pain in the rear, but essentially we have a rule that checks the headers for the onmicrosoft.com addresses. We have another rule that just checks the from address and the to address. And the other rule, I believe, is for any kind of keywords, essentially, that have the onmicrosoft.com stuff in it. So it's very frustrating that you have to have 3 separate rules for it, but I guess that's the way it goes sometimes. But we did finally get it resolved. It is finally blocking those onmicrosoft.com emails, and it's rejecting those messages altogether. So that has been good, but the fact of the matter is that we have to even do this. That's what's really irritating to me. I mean, Microsoft has to have a better answer for this kind of stuff, and thus far they have not. So very unfortunate and very frustrating. So if you're looking to move to Office 365, you might want to reconsider, and or they do have a hybrid setup of Office 365, but most people that move to Office 365 are trying to get out of the hardware business, and you don't want to have an on-site server. Well, with their hybrid, you would have to have an on-site server, and you'd be using their cloud as well as kind of your backup. So if you do have that hybrid setup, you can do the additional filtering, and it's not a big deal. You don't need these extra rules and whatnot to block those on Microsoft.com addresses. But if you don't have that hybrid setup, you gotta tweak a whole bunch of your inbound rules. So anyway, just more frustrations there with Office 365. In general, the platform is great. You know, it's typically online most of the time. Haven't had a whole lot of downtime, so that's been good. But certainly extra irritating when you have to create all these rules just to fix something that's a huge and massive security hole. Anyway, In other cybersecurity news, the CFO of Huawei, man, this guy, he's about to go to jail for a long time. They're talking like 30 years, potentially up to 30 years. Because of a whole bunch of fraud that he was doing. So that is a pretty wild story if you haven't seen that. That's just one of the things going on at Huawei. But man, the CFO is doing that. I mean, that's damn near at the very top of that company. So it really makes me question what else was going on there. Huawei, I have to give them a lot of credit, though. Some of their newer phones that have come out are really nice. You can't buy them in the U.S., but they rival the Samsung phones. I mean, they are very, very nice. They have one called the Mi Note, and it rivals the Samsung Galaxy Note. So it's a shame to see that their CFO was doing all this fraudulent stuff, but he's going to jail, and maybe they'll somehow spin out of it. But their products are pretty good. You just can't buy them in the U.S. because Donald Trump said so. Other cybersecurity news, if you haven't used DuckDuckGo before, it's an alternative search engine to Google, and essentially uses the same engine, if you will, as Google. The only thing it doesn't do is track your searches, track your location, track all the things that you're looking for, whereas Google does, so they can send you advertisements. So the folks at DuckDuckGo did their own kind of investigation on Google Chrome and their incognito mode, and all of the testing that they did shows that incognito mode still is not private. That's very unfortunate. I can't say I'm surprised, but that's extremely irritating. I've been using the Brave browser, and at least I don't think I'm having these issues. I haven't tested this personally, but if you're using Chrome, this is the regular version of Chrome, that could be an issue if you're trying to go to the incognito mode. It's not really keeping you private. It's kind of scary. Anyway, speaking of Chrome, I forgot to mention this in the kickoff of the show, but Windows did announce that they are going to get rid of Edge, essentially, and replace it with a Chromium-built browser. So Windows is going to take a page out of Google's book. They're going to use the Chromium open source code to create the next version of Internet Explorer, or whatever they're going to call it, Edge browser, whatever the hell they're going to call it. It's going to be running on Chromium. I thought that was wild. There's a lot of browsers out there that are running on Chromium. Brave is one of those browsers as well. So very interesting stuff there from Microsoft too. I didn't mention that earlier, but I'd be really curious to see what happens when that browser comes out, because right now Google Chrome has the vast majority of the market. But there are a lot of other browsers that use Chromium, unfortunately. Some that don't are ones like Firefox, but there's, I'd say, I don't know, probably 70% of all the browsers out there are based on some form of Chromium, unfortunately. In other cybersecurity news, ZDNet had a pretty cool article. I'll share it in the show notes, but they're talking about some Eastern European banks that lost tens of millions of dollars in some what they called Hollywood-style attacks. Hacking attacks or hacking attempts or whatever. That is pretty wild to lose that much money, especially to these Hollywood type attacks. So essentially these guys were using cheap laptops and Raspberry Pi boards, USB drives, Bash Bunnies, all that kind of stuff. And all they did was they left those devices connected to the bank network or some sort of bank computer, and they would use that rogue device from a remote location, getting on 3G, 4G, whatever it is, and they could use that to get into their internal network at the bank. And so that basically gave them unfettered access to the internal network of that bank to do pretty much whatever the hell they wanted to. So that's a pretty wild story there. Check that one out. It's pretty interesting to see. It also kind of goes to the point that hacking doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have all these fancy tools. You don't need to have a Bash Bunny necessarily. You don't need to have the fanciest of the fanciest stuff to actually hack. Really, all you need is some very basic knowledge and some basic tools that are built into Kali Linux. And you can hack just as well as having some, tools that you buy from hack5.com or whatever it is. So keep it simple, stupid. KISS, if you haven't heard that before, I'm shocked. But hacking can still be done very, very easily with very basic tools. All right, jumping over to crypto. Bitcoin, oh my God, what the hell? It's at an all-time low. It went down to 3306 today, which is just horrendous. The experts are saying that the bottom of this is going to be 2600 for Bitcoin. So they were showing the trends of the Bitcoin price over the last few years, and they were showing that it follows the same pattern. So this was kind of interesting. Now they did say it could get as low as 1700, which is insane, but they're saying it's between 2600 and 1700 for the base, the bottom of this latest crypto fallout, and that's extremely unfortunate. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's down over 80% in the last year. So that's just wild. But they are thinking that history will repeat itself, and hopefully it does. And when history has repeated itself, the market goes on a crazy, huge bull run and goes up, by hundreds and hundreds of percentile. So maybe we'll see it get up past 20 grand this year, or next year, I should say, in 2019. It's still yet to be seen, but if the trends continue as they have been, maybe we'll see some better numbers there with Bitcoin. But it's certainly unfortunate for all the investors out there that have been on the crypto bandwagon for so long. Just to see it all tanking like this is very, very sad. But if you buy in when it's at this very bottom that it's going to hit, that can give you some serious cash if it does go back up to anywhere near where it was. So even if you buy when it gets down to, hell, if you bought now and it goes up to 6 grand, then you're basically going to double your money. So it's unfortunate, but it does give other opportunities if you think of it that way, if you still have faith in it. A lot of people are losing faith, though, unfortunately. All right, other cryptocurrency news. The Ethereum developers did announce today that Constantinople, the next code change for Ethereum, is definitely happening on block number 7,000,080. So as soon as that block hits, they're saying it's going to be around January 14th to January 18th when that block will be mined and this code switch will happen. They're also saying that they're going to delay their difficulty bomb for another 18 months, and they're also lowering the block reward from 3 Ethereum down to 2. So interesting stuff. They're also trying to block any kind of special mining equipment designed to mine for Ethereum, like ASIC miners and whatnot. So they are trying to build that into it as well, although they did say it's not officially in this release yet, but they're still debating on whether or not they're going to put it in there. So I don't know what that means for Ethereum, but I'm hoping that means some sort of uptick, and potentially if they can lower the difficulty for a little while, that would at least incentivize more people to start mining again, including me. If I got, a whole bunch more Ethereum for mining now, then I certainly would go back into mining. But for the time being, all my gear is shut off and just collecting dust, unfortunately. But hopefully with this new fork, we'll see some better changes there. So far, I haven't seen any mining software to deal with this new fork, so there may be some delays there getting some sort of software to do the next mining with this new fork. But they're usually pretty quick to come out with that kind of stuff. All right, other cryptocurrency news. The SEC delayed the EFT thing yet again. I don't know if this is ever going to get approved, but they're saying they're pushing it to February 27th of next year. So it's unfortunate, but with the downturn in the market right now, I guess I'm not surprised. And I was even trying to release a cryptocurrency, and at this point it's kind of pointless because the market's at such a downturn. So hopefully it comes back, but you just never know. All right, folks, that's all I had for today. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at eEnglish34. On Twitter, at eEnglish34. Also want to thank our sponsor, Southern Graphics T-Shirt Company. They also do some palette signs and whatnot as well. So go check them out on their website. It's southerngraphicst-shirtco.com. They've got links to their Etsy store and their Facebook store where you can buy their stuff. All right, folks, thanks for listening, and we will talk again soon.